Hello, everybody. I believe we're live streaming. It's good to have everybody joining us tonight. I did get that text you all heard come in just a few seconds ago before we started our meeting / class tonight. Was our Georgia group, and they've got 52 in the class tonight. So we're so glad to have them. And they're hoping, if everything gets set up, one of the reasons they haven't been able to come in the Zoom room or to get connected the way they wanted to is, they're living in an area that has low internet feeds. And so they're hoping to get that upgraded pretty soon, and some of them's going to be coming into our Zoom class. So we're looking forward to that. Be looking forward to have Laura and all of her folks down there join us there. And they're listening by Power Faith Radio tonight. And we're so glad to have everybody by Power Faith Radio. I didn't say it last week or the week before, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. Broadcasting from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, you're listening to Power Faith Radio. One of these days, I'm going to get me a job being a radio announcer. I don't know.
You're not too far from that now.
Depends on who you ask.
Well, no, I mean, we're going to have two. I guess technically three radio things going on, 2 internet, 1 antenna.
Yeah.
Here shortly. So
we actually went by and picked up our new computer today that has all of our new components in it. And so we're hoping to get that set up at the first of the year and start the all new broadcast. So we're looking forward to that. So, all right. If you're joining us tonight via a Simple Walk Facebook page, we want to welcome you. That is an open group, and we ask that you share those videos with all your social media platform. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Somebody will questions pertaining to the class tonight. If you have any other questions, you can put them there, and we will kindly savor them back and answer those maybe at a different time. But we like to deal with whatever we're dealing with the night of. So we want to thank you for joining us by A Simple Walk. Also by B'nai Noach Fellowship. We want to thank you. That is a closed group. That's and we're glad you tuned in with us there tonight. And so please, again, make comments, ask questions. We greatly appreciate it. And then it's sponsored by Outreach Noah YouTube channel. And those of you listening by Outreach Noah YouTube channel, we ask you to share those videos with all your social media platform. Hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up, and invite people to come and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Did I get all that out, Terry?
Well, you got it all out. I think you might be a radio announcer.
Well, when I was a teenager,
was you one of those two?
I was. I had hair back then. I got pictures to prove it.
Hey, I've seen pictures of that.
And so I played on softball teams, and they would actually bid for me to play. Now I could hit the ball, but I couldn't catch the ball very well. I'm just going to be honest with you. I couldn't catch it. But I know this is going to be hard to believe for all you people listening out there, but I had a big mouth. I know that it's hard to believe right now. You looking at me and talking to me right now, you'd say, well, I don't need, you're just the shyest fellow I'd ever meet. But they would bid for me to be on their team, so I would stand at the fence behind the batter's mound and taunt the batter to swing at the ball. And I had many of people throw many of drink my way. They wasn't throwing it to me for me to drink, so I'll just leave it right there. But I got a big mouth. I'll go ahead and confess it. Terry, help me. Save me, Terry. Go ahead. Take over.
Oh, good evening. Here's Scotty. No. Only those about our age or older will get that one.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm not going to go through the same list that Scotty did. He does such a wonderful job at that. I just want to thank everyone for, again, coming to the class tonight. We're going to begin the study of the Prohibition of Murder. We're going to kind of have an introductory class. I'm going to go through an article that Dr. Michael Schulman Ph.D. wrote on murder. He is the director of Ask Noah International and the United Noahide Academies, and he's written a really good introduction to murder that we're going to look into tonight. Then next week, Hashem willing, we're going to start getting into a little bit of the details about it. Specifically, what's interesting gets into the issue of the soul between the animals and the man and stuff, man and how it applies to murder and all that. It's going to be really interesting next week. But this week we're just going to get into an introductory and just going to kind of hit it with a broad sweep so you can kind of see what we're going to be getting into over the next few weeks and everything. So again, thank you for coming. Like Scotty says, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the little bell right there to be notified and everything. And so you know when we're going to be updating the videos. Plus, Scotty and I have plans. We're going to be doing some topic videos that we're going to be dropping into the channel here pretty soon. And as soon as we drop those, you'll be notified as well. Some of these areas that we're covering here on the commandments are just also character traits, living a godly life. We're going to be doing some different things like that, just topic videos and dropping them into the channel as well. Scotty, you about ready?
Yes. And I have a topic that has been on my mind for years. And I think Terry and I are going to cover those along with some others maybe, but the title is Living Among Them. So you can
I think we've talked a little bit about that.
We have talked
one-on-one,
Yeah. And so I think that's a hard thing to do for some people to live among. Yeah. So we'll leave that right there. That's for a future topic.
There you go.
All right. It's so good to have everybody with us tonight. We're going to use in our Tzedakah time this Tzedakah box here. And so we're going to start off tonight with birthdays. We don't have a whole lot of birthdays. David Yosef had a birthday this past week. And also Stephen Goforth. Stephen, we want to thank you so much for what you sent. Thank you so much for that. Stephen Goforth, we're giving Tzedakah for him tonight. And also Deborah Raleigh had a birthday this past week. And so we're going to start on those that we'd love you to write these names down and use them maybe in the next weeks to come at Tzedakah time and give charity in one of these persons' name in their behalf. And so we're going to start off tonight. We always give Tzedakah for Pesach and Shira Sherbo. That's our teachers. And then we've also got on our list tonight Terry and Dola Hayes. Terry, would you tell everybody the news you got from the doctor, just so that, or you feel like doing that?
I've got a phone call from my doctor today, and some of my tests have come in, and I'm having some issues with my gallbladder, and they gave me the big long name to it and all that. And I've got a televideo meeting with my doctor next Thursday, where she's going to go into more of the details. I'm not having the extreme gallbladder part, where if you go on and you look at all the symptoms, I'm not having any of the major stuff. It's just it's inflamed and irritated and a few things like that, but there's no gallstones or anything that they said. But so she's going to be explaining that more in detail with me. I don't know if I'm going to have it removed just yet. Everything I read, I am, but the ones that it says that I am, what I've read, I don't have those symptoms. So I don't know if she may have a different, once I talk to her, she may have some different information for me to do and everything. So that'll be coming in. I'll find more information next Thursday.
Okay. Also, Phil Hayes, how's your dad doing, Terry?
Battling with the flu, battling with, turning 76 here pretty soon, just things, catches up with you.
Well, we'll continue to give
his energy levels is dropped quite a bit this last year, just all of a sudden.
Okay. Going to continue to give tzedakah for him. Also, Wendy Shepard, we're going to remember her in this tzedakah list tonight. And also, we're going to give tzedakah again for Mary Parsons. Wendell, how is your wife doing?
She's doing very well. Just occasional twinges of pain, but nothing major at all. Her main thing now is just getting ready to get through the holidays and the cold. She doesn't like the cold anyway.
I don't blame her a bit for that at all. So, okay, we will continue to give tzedakah for her. Also, uh, uh, Ronald, we're giving tzedakah for you right now. How you doing?
Uh, okay, but give me a few weeks and I can tell you more. There's different things going on at the moment.
Okay.
And we don't. I was supposed to have another ultrasound tomorrow, but it just got postponed till the 3rd. So I'll contact you. I'll let you know what's
Okay.
going on. But yeah, I need some prayer again. Thank you. I'm
Okay,
falling
good.
apart, I think.
Okay. Ronald, have you heard anything from Wayne Vivers? We're going to give tzedakah for Wayne. Has he made it?
Just a short bit yesterday. He changed his phone number and sent it to us in WhatsApp. But I think everything's okay, and he's definitely home.
Great.
He's definitely back in South Africa, so he's with his brother and friends. So I got to contact him later today to try and have a chat with him. I was late last night. I was thinking of it, and he sent me the message with his new WhatsApp number. So I just let him know I got it, and I'll be in touch with him. But,
Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. All right. Also, Jacqueline Reed. I haven't heard anything from them lately. Have you heard anything, Ronald?
No, I did text last night, and I've had no response from David. I'm going to ask Chrissy to text and see if she can get a response. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to continue to give tzedakah and thanks for that as well, what the Creator's done there. Also, Mike Collins. Veronica, have you heard anything from the hip replacement from Mike?
Yeah, he sent an email out on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, or what's today, Wednesday? Monday or Tuesday, he sent an email out and he said that he has healed really, really well. Baruch Hashem, I really think that it's everybody praying for him and stuff. So yeah, he's doing really well. He's able to drive and he's going to try and just sit on his motorcycle instead of driving it. So try and get a feel for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's doing really, really well. Really well.
Great. Baruch Hashem. Baruch
Thank
Hashem.
you.
All right. We're giving tzedakah tonight for Ramona Perry. Also, we're giving tzedakah tonight. Amuela, this is your dollar. Somebody has sent it in. We're giving tzedakah that's from you. Also, Thomas, this is your dollar going into the tzedakah box tonight. And then also Veronica Port, this is your dollar. Someone sent in to put into the tzedakah. One of these days, I'll reveal to y'all who's sending that, but we'll just leave it there. And then also, Ethylene Moore. We're giving tzedakah for Ethylene Moore tonight. Now, we do have quite a few blessed memories, and we're going to try our best to get through these. If I can read my writing, I think I can. Doris Marie Bringman. We're giving tzedakah blessed memory for her tonight. Also for Melvin Glenn Warnstaff, we're giving tzedakah blessed memory for them tonight. And also Don Gruntley, we're giving tzedakah blessed memory there. Also Erica B. Rifkin, we're giving tzedakah there tonight. Also Josh Cohen, we're giving tzedakah there tonight. Hold on just a minute. I'm going to try to get these all in here. I may have to get my little stick out and poke them in. I don't think they got a class on that. I don't think they got a class on how to get it all in there, but we're going to try our best. And then also giving tzedakah tonight for blessed memory of my mother, Aline Giles. So hold on just a minute. Gotta get up my little stick and get all this in there. Now, we appreciate everybody that's participated in our tzedakah time. And last week, I have to apologize. I forgot our prayer, and we're going to jump right into our prayer. I move this out of the way, and we're going to jump right into our prayer tonight. Would you help me pray? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications. Our King, do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry, let's see. Let me make sure I don't have any comments over here for anybody further in the thing. Okay, Terry. Okay, Terry, if you're ready to go, you take off, and I'll deal with some technical issues over
Technical issues down in the engine room, right?
there. Yeah.
Am I sounding okay, or is it broken?
Sounds good.
Moved this around a little bit. I'm always hitting it with my books and stuff, trying to get it higher, but yet, for a short guy, trying to be short with a microphone and reading at the same time and going through my books can be fun. But one second, these pop-up thingies. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Like I said, we're going to begin the study of the Prohibition of Murder. It's a very interesting subject. There's a lot more to it than what a lot of people understand. The initial part is the taking of a life, but even goes further than that. We're going to be getting that over the next 3 weeks or a few weeks. I wanted to start because as I was studying this week, looking at this, also pondering some things, I had some clarity, some personal clarity. I'm just going to put it that way on something for myself that I wanted to share as kind of an introduction to this introduction. Most of everyone that knows me, that's been part of our classes, that Scotty and I, sometimes we joke, I'm a Trekkie, he's Scotty in the engine room. We got Amuela as our yeoman and things like that. My daughters, my birthday, first part of the month, my daughters, this year, they are always getting me something dealing with astronauts, Star Trek, space. I've gotten several books over the last few years that they've got me for my birthday. And this year, they got me a little book. I've just started reading it right there, and it's by Basil Hero. It says The Mission of a Lifetime: Lessons from the Men Who Went to the Moon. And what this is, there were 24 men that walked on the moon. At the writing of this book in 2019, 12 were still alive, and this author set out to interview them. And it's really interesting. He tells about how hard it is to even get started to be able to even talk to one of them, because they've had to shut themselves in and put walls and protection around them because of all the nutsos that's gone after them and things like that. And so you have to kind of be vetted in. And once he got vetted in by this one particular one, he opened up the doors to meet with the others. But I was reading in here, and it's giving a list of some of the things that this book is going to be covering. And when I read this, I've talked about quotes really get a hold of me sometimes. And I've got me a little book that I've write these quotes down in that grabbed me. But I've been studying for this week, and then I read this and got to meditating just on my own walk, my own spiritual walk. And and this kind of hit me where I'm at, because I love studying stuff about science and space travel and things. It just intrigue me. But Mr. Hero says here, like this in this question, now he calls these guys the Eagles, and that's kind of become a name for the guys who walked on the moon, the Eagles. And he says, what is the background of the Eagles that allowed them to risk their lives in space where no one had ventured before? How did they conquer fear? Where did their leadership skills and humility come from? And then he says this right here. I've been meditating on it for about 2 weeks now. What is it about their shared experience that made them all see Earth as the Garden of Eden waiting to be rediscovered? And those that know me, I've been heavily studying the book of Genesis now for years. I mean, I've been studying Hebrew scriptures for over 20 years, but I've been in the book of Genesis probably well over half of that. And learning the Hebrew, about 7-8 years ago, started learning the Hebrew. Now I've started studying Genesis in the what Hebrew that I have understanding with. But what stood out to me is, them seeing Earth as the Garden of Eden rediscovered. And as I got to pondering this, I wrote this down the night. I woke up and I wrote this. This was on my mind when I woke up, and I wrote this down. See, I was born in a religious denomination. Spent most of my life in that particular denomination until it ceased to exist in the mid-90s. Then I went on. That's what really got my search, going. My search for more information of the Creator. And within that time, being in two different religious denominations in my life, and actually becoming in the ministry, and latter part as associate pastor, I wrote, says, but over the past several years, and especially this last 2 years, definitely, and this year, especially after Rosh Hashanah, for the first time in my religious, or I'm going to drop religious, my spiritual life, I've concerned myself with what God wants and what He expects of me. And studying the what we call the Noahide laws, which, like I've said before, it's not the best terminology, but it's what we have to work with, in this day and time. They're named after Noah because Adam gave them to Noah, 6 of them, and God gave Noah the 7th one, and it got passed on to Shem and to Abraham, and then Moses reaffirmed them at Mount Sinai. But today we just call them after the name of Noah, because he was the righteous man that saved humanity, that God used to save humanity. And so as I got to meditating on this and what I'm going to be getting into tonight, this study in living these 7 categorical precepts or commandments of life that the Creator expects of us is a form of rediscovering Gan Eden. That's the Hebrew for the Garden of Eden. But you think about this. When we're studying these laws, we are rediscovering the God of the Garden of Eden, the Creator of the Garden of Eden. I don't know. I've never had thought about that before until when I read that quote, it just got my mind to thinking and looking at these things. In these studies that we've been doing and what we do at Outreach Noah is we're rediscovering the God, the Creator of the Garden of Eden. And I just wanted to bring that out. This week in my own meditations, that's something from my own meditations this week I wanted to share. And I want to read this article on the kind of an introductory article on the prohibition of murder. Are y'all reading me okay? Because I just seen I had unstable, for some reason I had unstable internet. Did I freeze any, Scotty?
Yes, on mine you froze just for a minute, but it was just a small glitch. So I think
I had a sign come and said I don't know why I have unstable. I've got gig internet. I'm going to have to go gig Chattanooga and say, what's wrong with we're the gig city here. Why am I having unstable internet?
I got a notice from just a few minutes ago that for some reason internet access is being unstabilized in a lot of places.
Yeah, I mean, I'm paying extra for fiber optics
Yeah.
because we do a lot of video.
Yeah.
One reason why I wanted to move to this county where I live at now is because it's it was called the gig city, one of the first cities in the country that had fiber optic internet.
I think what happened is your fiber optic ran into my fiber optic.
It probably did.
Just clashed in the middle.
You
So,
know,
okay,
you're not
go
supposed to clang dilithium crystals together. You know, you might crack one of them.
ahead. Okay.
All
go,
right.
Go ahead.
All right. The article by Dr. Michael Schulman, Ph.D. I just want to kind of go through this. I've read it several times this week, going through it, meditating on it from the fact of, you know, just even the prohibition of murder. We're going to begin learning another aspect about the God of the Garden of Eden. He starts this out. He goes, modern, and I think especially those here in America are really going to find this interesting. Modern democratic societies struggle to recognize the concept that everyone is endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, which are associated with individual freedoms, with the evidence that the creator commanded certain boundaries that neither an individual nor a society is free to disregard. And well, I didn't give you this passage, but I mentioned it all the time. But Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. I want to read this with this statement right here, with the evidence that the Creator commanded certain boundaries that neither an individual nor the society is free to disregard. How do we know that? How do we know this? Again, we'll be coming to this almost every episode practically. Genesis 2 verse, actually I'm going to start in verse 15 and read 15, 16, and 17 from the Art Scroll. Hashem God took the man, placed him in the garden to work it and to guard it. And Hashem God commanded man, this is where we have that the Creator commanded man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and bad you must not eat. Therefore, on the day you shall surely die. But what we're looking at here is this very first thing. Of every tree of the garden you may eat, but of this particular tree you're not supposed to eat. That, there's several things we learn here. Hashem God, the four-letter name, and Elohim, the merciful judge, however you want to translate it, almost literally there, commanded man. That shows us he has the sovereignty. He is the God. He is the creator. He is sovereign rule. We are the creation. So he gives man a commandment. Part of that commandment is you shall eat of every tree of the garden, but you don't eat this one. He set a boundary. This is one of the first things that with this commandment in Genesis 2:16, he set a boundary. He's teaching man as Rabbi Hirsch states, that this is the beginning of man's moral training. He set a boundary just right here where it says, in the evidence that the Creator commanded certain boundaries. He commanded a boundary. There's a boundary being set in this first statement where he commanded man, this is yours, this is mine. There's a boundary. Inalienable rights, which is associated with individual freedoms, with the evidence that the Creator commanded certain boundaries that we are not permitted to disregard. And these boundaries is what gives us freedom. Boundaries gives us freedom. It doesn't bind us. It gives us freedom. The boundaries of the Creator gives us freedom. There are boundaries that man will set that doesn't, because man's got a warped head when it comes to governing and ruling himself. As we can see, it's happened over the last 6,000 years when man has tried to rule himself. Dr. Schulman goes on and he says, the perfect balanced answer to this dichotomy between man's essential rights and essential obligations is found within what he terms as the Noahide Code, the 7 universal commandments, 7 categorical commandments, because these are categories, are not just, they are one particular commandment, but they're a category with many details that explains them. Among these commandments is the prohibition of murder and injury. The prohibition of murder and injury, serious personal injury, as he has in parentheses, is probably the most obvious and on the surface the most straightforward. The specific commandment prohibiting man from committing murder can be found in God's communication to Noah in Genesis chapter 9, verse 6. Genesis chapter 9, verses 5 and 6. Sorry, Genesis chapter 9, verse 5 and 6. Let me turn over here to that. Let's see here. He's got it written down here, but I just wanted to flip over here in the art scroll. Yep. Thought I had my bookmark right there. Here we go. There we go. Dr. Schulman goes on, he says, of man for his brother, I will demand of the soul of man, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God, he made man. That's what's in Genesis chapter 9, verse 5 and 6, the prohibition of murder. It's straightforward. God reinforced this commandment when he transmitted the Torah from the heavens to Moses at Mount Sinai. See, when we read this here in Genesis chapter 9, this was written down some 2,000 years after Noah, because all these laws from Adam on down through to Moses at Mount Sinai was passed on orally, family to family. And you either accepted or you rejected it. But the Creator, when he spoke this passage to write this down in what we now know as Genesis chapter 9, it's a reaffirmation or, reformation of this commandment that pre-existed. This was a recording of a pre-existing commandment that God told Noah. And it is actually as part of what we call the Noahide covenant, or the covenant of Noah in Genesis chapter 9 with the rainbow, which is a whole lot more than just the promise of no more flood. There's a lot more detail to that story than just what meets the eye. You have to understand the depth of what's being said there, which we've talked about in the past, and we'll talk about it again in future classes. Dr. Schulman goes on, he says, as the preceding sections, he's talking about of this book that I've been studying, has shown, each of the commandments is linked to a reoccurring fundamental concept in the Hebrew scriptures. For example, Genesis 1, verse 27 states, and God created man in his image, and in the image of God, he created him male and female. He created them, again, reaffirming the image. When you look at the commandment of the prohibition of murder, the prohibition of murder is we don't murder one another because of the image of God that's in that person. It's the image of God that is highlighted by the Creator himself in this commandment. This teaches us that each person in some sense contains a reflection of God and therefore possesses a dimension of holiness. Taking a human life diminishes a measure of the divine image that is present within the world. And without the Creator's permission, it is strictly forbidden. At the same time, murder is an act of extreme rebellion against the Creator himself, who blessed man to be fruitful and to be multiplied upon the earth, Genesis 1:28. And he did not create it for emptiness, but to be inhabited, Isaiah 45:18. That's a very important passage there as well. Isaiah 45:18. He did not create this earth for it to be empty. He fashioned it to be inhabited. Now, that is the separation. That's the difference in the mission between us and Israel. Israel was given one plot of land that he had promised Abraham. They were to be they are and will be restoring on a worldwide basis the priestly realm of King David in the future. But the rest of us, we're not the priestly nation. We are the, for the lack of better terms, we are the Gentile, the non-Jewish creation of God that inhabits the earth. He did not create it to be empty. So he created Israel to operate one specific place on earth. Well, the rest of the earth is a big planet. The rest of us have the job to inhabit it. And these laws that we keep is what governs where we inhabit. These goes across every culture, every language, every race, culture, nationality. These are our governing rules to inhabit the planet Earth. This is how God wants it to be filled. And when we observe these, we have peace, we have harmony, and the Creator gets what he designed it for. And when we have peace and we have harmony among each other, we can thrive. We thrive really good. And we can actually thrive better than what we've ever thrived before, because we still got the issues of war amongst the nations. And that's eventually going to end, as we'll talk about later. But our purpose and our mission on earth as the non-Jewish people of the planet is to inhabit the planet. Whether it's in the jungles of Africa and the Amazon, or whether it's in the Antarctic regions and the islands of the oceans, of the continents that are there, our job is to live in these places. And we are to take these 7 categorical commandments and govern ourselves and govern one another and inhabit it, so the earth is not empty, but is full of peace and harmony and has structure and order. That's our biggest mission. That's why, I'm just going to say it. There's a lot of people that begin studying this want to become Jewish light. They want to do a lot of stuff that the Jews are doing. I don't agree with that. That's not our mission. Our mission is to inhabit the earth. My mission is dealing with my next door neighbor, my co-worker, my wife, my children, my friends, the guy down at the grocery store, at the gas station. This is where we do our service to God. Everything we go to do, no matter where we're at, is a service to the Creator. It's not in the worship halls. It's at work, dealing with employers, fellow co-workers. That guy you want to run off the road on the interstate because he's driving like an idiot. Believe it or not, the attitude you have, and it's hard sometimes, that is the service of God that he's given us to inhabit. It's part of the inhabiting of the earth that he wants us to do. And everything we go to do is his service. It's hard to, like I heard one rabbi said, the guy that invented the light bulb did so because it bettered humanity. It was the service of God. The person who invented the car, who invented paper, the ink pen, the pencil, everything that's happened within mankind that betters it and makes it better is the service of the Creator. Indoor plumbing, great service of the Creator. We don't have to go outside the camp with a shovel anymore. And as big as our cities is, that could be a mess. I mean, we got bad enough, we got our trash piles it builds up in our cities. In addition to sinning against the divine and destroying the victim's physical existence, a person who murders harms many others as well. The tragic loss of a person's life affects his loved ones, his friends and associates. But even physically, The effects of murder extend across time and space. We learn this from the world's first act of murder, when Cain murdered his brother Abel. God responded asking Cain in Genesis 4:10, "What have you done? What have you done?" The use of the plural bloods, in the Hebrew, it's bloods, plural, is very meaningful to us. It teaches us that one who murders another also kills that person's would-be descendants for all generations to come. You see, Abel had zero descendants because Cain killed them. He murdered untold thousands of generations from that one man. When you murder, you take that man's life and every life that would have come from him. Who but God knows where those descendants would have lived and what good they would have brought to the world. An example of this is a real good story of, I can't think of his first name. His last name's Mendel. I caught it on PBS several years ago. You can Google it and find it. But it's a story of this guy Mendel, and he escaped the Holocaust. He was a mathematician, world-renowned mathematician. And when IBM was first trying to connect two computers together from two separate buildings, they were having a problem. So they hired him to come in as a mathematician to find the problem. He found it, and there was what was called a mathematical monster, something that's not supposed to be able to be figured out. And there's several of these. Well, he figured this one out. When he figured this one out, he discovered fractal geometry, which never existed before. And because of fractal geometry, today we have the graphics, we have the videos. It changed the world. There was a young man who moved into an apartment who was a ham operator, but the apartment, the people who owned the apartment wouldn't allow him put his antenna on the balcony because it's too big. Well, he found a book on fractal geometry in the library, went home, used that mathematics and bent his antenna to where it would work down to a small thing that would mount on his balcony, smaller than a satellite dish. Well, not only did it work, it picked up other frequencies that had never been thought about. Today, that exact same process is used in the antenna in your cell phone, a 1-inch antenna that is designed off of fractal geometry that will allow you to pick up sound, data, video, everything. A phone. We would have to have 15, 20 antennas coming off our phone to do everything that it does. But that 1-inch antenna that's turned and bent and everything uses the fractal geometry that this guy used on his ham radio antenna, because this man was called to ask to help IBM out in the 70s. And what if he had died? I mean, that's what when I watched that program years ago, probably 20 something years ago now. What if he had died? I mean, yeah, granted, it would have, it's what the creator wanted. It would have come another way. But this is who the creator wanted it to come through. This was his desire, was to come through this man, this mathematician. So when people are murdered, look at what we as humanity has lost. The potential. All of that potential for good throughout the future has been lost because of a violent act. Even if the victim would not have had any children, The Torah sages of Israel teaches us that a person's great or small deeds are the spiritual fruits that he adds to the world. So you don't even think about it. Think of the good deeds that you do, whether it's holding up a door for someone, changing a tire, helping someone across the street. That impacts the world. He says it causes destruction of one's person's life. Let me see here. Therefore, the sages taught that someone who causes the destruction of one person's life from the world is considered as if he has destroyed an entire world. He has. Just think, if you murder one person and you destroy thousands of generations, and the generations of those people and the generations of those people, you've literally destroyed an entire world. By just killing one person, by murder. Killing's a different story. By murdering one person, you destroy an entire world. Multiple thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people and generations that comes from one person. Conversely, someone who saves or sustains one person's life in the world is considered to have saved an entire world. So when you save a life, the importance of saving a life, not even thinking about it. Maybe you're in a restaurant, someone's choking and you're able to help them not die, not choke, be choked. And what that person goes on to do, whether they have children or whether they're good acts that they do, in their service of God, you've saved that. That's the positive side of murder, is to give life. Dr. Schulman goes on and says, we have two paradigms. In one, murder represents an attack on the divine image that is present within the world. In the second, murder represents an attack on a fellow physical person. Which aspect of sin is worse? The sin is worse. The Torah provides the answer in Genesis 11, 1-9, which describes the episode of the Tower of Babel, which we discussed last week, when the people of the world united to challenge God. For this purpose, they built a giant tower with its top reaching up toward the heavens. Yet rather than destroy the people for their open rebellion against the Creator simply confused their language, which forced the people to abandon their plans. However, earlier in the Torah, in Genesis 6:13, we find that God told Noah that end of all flesh should come before me because the earth is filled with violence. That word is Hamas in the Hebrew, and it's violent. It's violence like in murder, and it's violence in robbery, which is violent theft. At that time, the Creator destroyed mankind through the flood because of their pandemic violence that included bloodshed, theft, and sexual crimes. It is clear that murder and injury assault the spiritual foundation upon which mankind as a whole exists, more so than direct rebellion against God himself. God destroyed man because we were destroying each other. But when man went to attack God himself, he didn't destroy us. He just scattered. He created a situation and scattered us, stopped the plans. So we can see that violence, it destroys society, it destroys the world, physically and spiritually. Yet what constitutes the sin of murder? Asked Dr. Schulman. What acts are included in that category? Because see, murder is just a category as well. As a specific sin, there's a category that goes with it. Are there times when killing someone, murder and killing is two different words, two different situations. Are there times when killing is permitted or even mandated by the Torah? Does a person ever have the right to end his or her own life? So we're going to be talking about euthanasia in our studies. What about or not killing, but suicide? We'll also be talking about euthanasia because that's part of it as well. What about engaging in activities that are inherent life-threatening? Doing something that could actually kill you. Or accepting donor organs from living people who are still alive, who will not regain consciousness. We'll discuss that. As we go on and we study murder in the next several weeks, we'll see that God provides ample instructions for how the commandment should be fulfilled in any circumstance. Furthermore, this discussion has thus far addressed only the physical act of taking human life. Are there acts that don't involve physical harm, but which are spiritually equivalent to murder? For example, can one be guilty in the eyes of God for destroying another's reputation or subjecting him to humiliation? What if the publicized damaging information is true? These questions, as well as many more, we'll be discussing in the upcoming classes on murder and on the prohibition of murder and injury. Specifically, murder and injury covers obviously issues such as homicide, whether permitted murder or accidental manslaughter, suicide, euthanasia, causing serious physical injury. It covers issues such as the Torah laws regarding permissible acts of self-defense, endangering one's life to save another, and death caused through criminal unavoidable negligence. The prohibition of injury also extends to non-physical attacks, such as slander, embarrassment, causing emotional harm. Even though many of the precepts relating to murder and injury are complex, an underlying theme can be summarized in one sentence. It is known as Hillels' golden rule, which comes out of Leviticus chapter 19. The golden rule of Torah. Hillel the Great, who was a great sage of Israel. When he was asked by a non-Jewish person to convert him while standing on one leg. Teach him the Torah. Teach him that I want to convert. Teach me the Torah standing on one leg. And Hillel says, that which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. The rest is the explanation. Go and learn. The whole Torah is summed up as whatever is hateful for you, do not do to your fellow human being. Everything else is the explanation of that. Let's go and learn. How could Hillel's sweeping statement encompass even the Torah precepts that forbid certain actions that seem to be purely matters of personal concern? These include medical issues at the forefront of modern society debates, such as advanced directives, living wills for healthcare decisions, transgender operations, choosing between the different means of reproductive sterilization and other matters that are addressed in this study. Therefore, we must conclude that a person should reject certain free will choices because they are hateful to one's inner self. So you have the free will to do some things, but sometimes it says here it is best to reject that free will choice because it's actually harmful to your inner self. And even in inflicting them upon one's own self, the person is harming a fellow. whom he should be concerned for. So you need to be concerned about yourself as your own fellow. And King David brings this out. It's really interesting. King David gives us an answer to this puzzle. In Psalms 146, verse 2, it literally reads, I will sing to God with my life. I will chant my praises to my God with my other. That is a direct literal translation of that passage. Psalms 146, verse 2. This teaches us that a person is a composite of two entities, a life, which is a spiritual soul, and then there's another. There's an other, which is the physical body. To sin against God's commands is hateful to the soul itself, because it bears the painful spiritual consequence of the sin. Therefore, a person should not even inflict injury upon his own body, the fellow, your fellow. You have your soul, and your body is your fellow, that God has appointed to be bound up with his soul. By thus committing to observe both the obvious and the inner dimensions of Hillel's golden rule, each person can hasten the time when God will reveal the fulfillment of his promise of Isaiah 11:9, that they will not harm nor destroy on all of my holy mountain, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of God as the water covers the seabed. That's the article that Dr. Schulman wrote. It kind of gives us an introduction to things that we're going to be talking about in the subject of the prohibition of murder, which is not only the murdering of another human being, destroying the image of God within that being, taking that image of God out of the creation, destroying that man's descendants that would have come from him, and all their descendants will no longer exist. So we don't know how many millions. When a person murders another person, let's just like you look at Cain. Look at Cain and Abel. We do not know how many millions, maybe billions of people that would have been born and walked on the earth and served the Creator, or even not served him, whatever their choice would be. But how many millions and billions of people from the very time of creation, when Abel lived, was destroyed in a fit of rage. We talked about anger the other day. Anger took out the lives of millions and billions of people out of one person. Then we have the assassination and the murder of someone spiritually and emotionally by attacking their character, their inner self, slandering, destroying their name. This is all parts of murder. Then we have the issues of euthanasia, abortion, transgender, harming the body, and sterilizations of the body. This is all mutilations. This is injury. This is the injury part. Murder and injury that is forbidden, that we are not permitted to do. Though we may choose to do it, we do not have the freeness to just go ahead and do this stuff. Like what we learned, there are boundaries that the Creator set at the beginning in Genesis chapter 2. He set boundaries that we are not permitted to change. And therefore it holds penalties when we do these things. Then we have also, on the opposite side, the giving of life. saving a life, the giving of life. That's the opposite, the positive side, that we will also discuss with that too. Lifting up people, doing good for others is aspects of sharing and saving lives. And so the positive side of murder and injury as well we'll be discussing along with this as well. Scotty, we got any discussion going on? We need to. I know the introduction was a little thick, but I feel like it was a good basic introduction to a broad scope of murder and injury. And over the next several weeks, we're going to be looking at, tapping in. We won't go into full details of everything, but we will be getting into enough that we can kind of get a basics, because we'll always have things to come back to and discuss later.
Yeah, I think it was a great introduction. And I think you covered the introduction very well, where we're going with this and where you're going, and be some great understanding when it's all laid out.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and another thing too, on the positive side, self-defense, when people ask, what can you do about self-defense and stuff? If you have to take, we'll be getting into the situations there that's, all this stuff will be covered in murder and injury.
Great. All right. Well, Terry, everything's pretty quiet tonight. We got quite a few listeners, but I guess you've explained everything and pretty good. So I think we're doing pretty good. So
okay. It's hard to believe, man. Got no questions tonight.
I know it. We got a lot of thumbs up. So that's pretty good. We don't even have any bad questions tonight. So that's pretty good. If you explained it to the point we nobody can say a bad thing, then that's pretty good.
I went word for word through this article, several times this week, and was just going through it and meditating on it. And then, like I said, at the beginning, what we're studying here, even just on this one prohibition of murder and injury, inside what we're going to learn is we're going to be rediscovering the mind of the God of the Garden of Eden. And I just that hit me this week. That's what my life has become. My life has become over the last several years is rediscovering the God of the Garden of Eden. His will for man's life, my life, his desires, his compassions, all the way back to the garden where it all began.
Awesome. All right, Terry, are we ready to bring it to a close?
I'm finished if we don't have any discussion.
We don't have. I believe everything's pretty good. And its time went pretty good. It's been about an hour, so we're going pretty good.
I'm looking forward to next week because I'm going to be getting into the passage of Genesis 9 a little bit. The Sages breaks it down. Really interesting. Rabbi Raphael Sampson Hirsch even breaks it down in the Hebrew some. And I'm just kind of been going a little bit of ahead this morning. I was looking at some stuff and I'm like, oh man, I have to watch it because I get so much going on in my head. I want to share it. And then I'd share too much at one time. I go, oh, I can add just a little bit here. No, if I do that, then sometimes you just need to eat one slice of pizza instead of 4.
Yeah. When it's set in front of you, you want to eat all you can eat.
Yeah, because it smells good.
Yeah.
Oh, especially now if it's biscuits and gravy. Now that's my.
We keep on. We're going to get Thomas involved in this conversation.
Oh, we are. Anytime we talk about food, right? Yeah, we talk about food, Thomas.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, listen, everybody that's been listening through Power of Faith Radio, we thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for the Georgia group and we're looking forward to next week to see what Terry has in store for us there. Those of you listening by A Simple Walk, remember that's an open Facebook page. You can share those videos with your social media platforms. Those of you watching tonight through B'nai Noach Fellowship, we thank you so much for joining that group, and we appreciate it. Now, we didn't have a lot of people in those groups tonight, but the great thing about it is, as we are live streaming, it is recording as well.
Right.
I will tell you that after the live stream is over, the recordings will revamp themselves, and the video quality will be a whole lot better. Those of you watching tonight via Outreach Noah, this is sponsored by Outreach Noah. Those of you watching Outreach Noah on Outreach Noah's YouTube channel, can I say Outreach Noah one more time? And we appreciate you coming on over there. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up, and share those videos with all your social media platforms.
Right.
Remember, if you have any names to add to the Tzedakah list, go ahead and send them in. You don't have to send any money with it. I don't want anybody to feel that they have to, well, I don't have anything to send. You do not have to send the money. If you got a birthday, if you got a blessed memory, if you've got someone you want to add to our prayer list, please send those names in, and we will add them to the Tzedakah list. Terry, was you going to say something else?
Yeah, something we really hadn't brought up before. I just thought of it as you were talking. The Facebook page Simple Walk is a Facebook page that Scotty and I started a year or so ago. We were getting, sorry guys, we were getting some questions from some folks, and we wanted to have an open page where we can be in contact with people that may want to, have questions or just contact us, have a way of contacting us. If you're not a member, you're not going to be barraged with a lot of stuff. We try to put up some, articles here and there and some statements. It's also where we can have some conversations as well in there. If you're not a member of Simple Walk, it's an open group. It's just a simple little group. It's called Simple Walk because this is what this is. We're simply walking with the Creator. And what we don't do is we don't proselytize, have anybody proselytizing any form of religion in there, or we don't want any bashing of any religion in there. Whether you agree or don't agree with something like that, we stay away from those topics. What we want to discuss and what we want to learn is how do we serve God and serve man according to His will on both parts. And it's like I said, it's an open. Just feel free to send a request to join. And it's like I said, it's another way to contact Scotty and I on a regular basis, or you just want to have a discussion about something, send us a post and everything. We'll approve it and see how it goes. And just a simple walk, simple way of communicating.
I forgot I muted myself here. I was talking away. And if I can give Veronica's page a plug here at this time, it is Simply Noahide. So if you want to gain some information there, send her a text or an ask to join her group, and she'll weigh that out and bring you on in. So, all right, without further ado, everybody, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you next time right here on Outreach Noah.
Bye-bye.